You know what nobody tells you about your 30s? It's the decade where your financial decisions stop being practice and start being permanent. They start to count for real. The massive gap you see later in life, the one between someone who retires at 55 with options and someone who's grinding until 72 out of necessity, that gap wasn't created by talent. It wasn't some stroke of luck. It was carved out by a handful of money moves made right here in the 30s. And today, I'm giving you the exact playbook for those moves. Stay with me because by the end of our time together, you're going to have a clear, actionable roadmap. Not vague advice, not generic tips, a real plan for building serious wealth in this pivotal decade. But before we get into it, if you're new here, welcome. This channel is where we break down complex money moves into strategies you can actually use. Hit that subscribe button right now and tap the bell. We drop new videos every week, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. All right, let's get into it. We have to start with the mindset shift because without this, nothing else I say will matter. Your 30s feel like you still have plenty of time, and technically you do. But what you have more of than anything else is leverage. Time is the ultimate leverage in finance, and the math on this is brutal. Let's say you invest $500 a month starting at age 30. You get a conservative 8% annual return, which is historically quite reasonable. By age 65, you'll have roughly $1.15 million. Not bad. But what if you wait? What if life gets in the way and you don't start until you're 40? Same amount, $500 a month, same 8% return. At 65, you end up with about $475,000. That's a difference of nearly $700,000. That money didn't get spent, it didn't get lost in a bad investment. It simply evaporated. It vanished into thin air because you waited. The cost of waiting a single decade was the majority of your potential wealth. Compound interest is the closest thing to a financial superpower that exists. Think of it like a tiny snowball at the top of a very, very long hill. In your 20s, you're just pocking it together. In your 30s, you give it the first big push. The initial roll is slow, almost unnoticeable, but as it rolls, it picks up more snow, getting bigger and faster until by the time it reaches the bottom of the hill in your 60s, it's an unstoppable avalanche of wealth. That initial push is everything. Your 30s are early, but only if you start right now. So the first move isn't a product, an account, or an app. It's a decision, a conscious decision that your future self is a real person who deserves to be taken care of starting today. Everything else flows from that. Okay, now for the tactical stuff. Think of your financial life as a stack. You build it layer by layer, and you can't build the top layer if the bottom one is crumbling. Layer 1, the emergency fund. I know, you've heard this a million times, but let me ask you honestly, do you have one? A real one? Most people in their 30s still don't. Life in this decade is expensive and wildly unpredictable. Career changes, kids, surprise medical bills, the water heater exploding on a Tuesday morning. You need 3 to 6 months of essential living expenses. That means rent or mortgage, utilities, food, insurance, and minimum debt payments. And this money needs to be sitting in a high-yield savings account. Not your checking account where you can accidentally spend it. Not invested in stocks where it could be down 20% right when you need it. It needs to be liquid, accessible. It's supposed to be boring. That's what makes it so beautiful. Without this layer, every minor setback sends you spiraling back to square one, or worse, into high-interest debt. Which brings us to layer 2, annihilate high-interest debt. Let's be clear. Credit card debt with a 20-something% interest rate is not a debt problem. It's a house on fire problem. You are trying to fill a bucket with a massive hole in the bottom. You cannot outinvest a 22% interest rate. It's mathematically impossible. Before you get aggressive with investing, you must become laser focused on eliminating any debt that's costing you double-digit interest. The best method for this is the avalanche method. You list all your debts, ignore the balances, and attack the one with the highest interest rate with every spare dollar you have, while making minimum payments on the rest. Once that one's gone, you roll that entire payment onto the next highest rate. It's the fastest and cheapest way to get out of debt, period. Watch your financial breathing room open up dramatically. Layer 3, the budget that doesn't feel like a prison. Forget the miserable spreadsheet where you track every last penny. That's a recipe for burnout. Instead, try the 50-30-20 rule. It's simple, flexible, and it works. 50% of your take-home pay goes to needs, your net, your bills, your groceries. 30% goes to wants, dining out, hobbies, travel. And the final, most important 20% goes directly to savings and investments. The key to making this work is to automate that 20%. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your investment accounts the day after you get paid. That money should disappear before you even have a chance to miss it. Pay yourself first. Once that foundation is locked in, now we can build. This is where your 30s become a serious advantage, the investment decade. You start by maxing out your tax-advantaged accounts. First, if your employer offers a 401k match and you are not contributing enough to get the full match, you are literally lighting free money on fire. An employer match is often 50 or 100% of your contribution up to a certain limit. That is an instant 50 to 100% return on your money. There is nothing on Wall Street or anywhere else that can guarantee you that kind of return. It is the single best investment you can possibly make. Next, open a Roth IRA if you qualify based on your income. Why a Roth? A Roth IRA is different from a traditional 401k or IRA. With a traditional account, you get a tax break now, but you pay taxes when you withdraw the money in retirement. With a Roth, you pay the taxes now on the money you put in, but everything that money grows into, every dollar of earnings for the next 30 or 40 years, is completely tax-free when you take it out in retirement. For many people in their 30s, you may be in a lower tax bracket now than you will be at your peak earning years. Locking in that tax-free growth today can be one of the smartest long-game moves you ever make. So what should you actually invest in? Keep it simple. You don't need to be a stock-picking genius. In fact, trying to be one is often how people lose money. Instead, buy low-cost index funds. An index fund is just a basket of stocks that tracks a major market index like the S&P 500, which is the 500 largest companies in the US. By buying one share of an S&P 500 index fund, you instantly own a tiny piece of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and hundreds of other companies. It's diversified, it's cheap, and historically, it has outperformed the vast majority of highly paid professional fund managers over the long run. Set it up, automate your contributions, and then, here's the hard part, leave it alone. Now let's talk about the two biggest financial upgrades you can make in your 30s, because saving and investing is half the equation. Upgrade number 1, your income. Here's the truth most personal finance advice whispers, but I'm going to say it loudly. Budgeting alone will not make you wealthy. You can cut every latte, you can skip every vacation, but if your income remains stagnant, there's a hard ceiling to how far you can go. Your 30s are your prime career capital years. This is the decade to negotiate aggressively. Document your wins at work, build a case for why you deserve more, and don't be afraid to change jobs. Data consistently shows that switching jobs is one of the fastest ways to boost your income. Job switchers often see pay increases of 10 to 15%, while staying put usually gets you a standard 3% raise. That gap compounds just as powerfully as your investments. Develop high-income skills, build your professional network, and consider side income streams. Upgrade number 2, your credit score. Your credit score is your financial partner. A strong score, think 740 and above, means you get the best interest rates on mortgages, car loans, and everything else. In your 30s, when those big purchases become real possibilities, this matters enormously. A great score can save you tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Pay every bill on time. Keep your credit card balances low, ideally below 30% of your total limit, and don't open a bunch of new accounts all at once. A great credit score won't make you rich, but a bad one will absolutely make you poorer. Finally, you can do everything right and lose it all if you skip this last step, protection. This is the safety net for everything you're building. First, term life insurance. If anyone depends on your income, a spouse, a partner, children, you need this. It's not for you, it's for them. In your 30s, you're likely healthy, which means premiums are incredibly low. A 20 or 30-year term policy can provide a massive safety net for your family for the cost of a few pizzas a month. Second, disability insurance. This one is criminally underrated. Your single greatest financial asset in your 30s is your ability to earn an income for the next 30 years. That future income stream is worth millions. If you get sick or injured and can't work, what happens to your entire financial plan? Disability insurance protects that engine. It replaces a portion of your income so you can still pay your bills and build your future. And last, a will and basic estate documents. I know, nobody wants to think about this, but if you have a partner, kids, a house, or any assets at all, you need a basic will. It is not morbid, it is responsible. It ensures your assets go where you want them to go, and it prevents a legal and emotional nightmare for the people you love during what would already be the worst time of their lives. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give them. Here's the bottom line. Your 30s are not too late and they are not too early. They are the decade. The decade where the habits you build, the accounts you open, the debt you kill, and the income you grow will determine what your rest of financial life looks like. You don't have to do all of this tomorrow. Just pick one thing. Open that high-yield savings account. Calculate your 401k match. Make one extra payment on your highest interest debt. Start somewhere, because the cost of waiting is a price you can no longer afford to pay.